Well, good morning, everyone. Good morning. It is the top of the hour, so we should probably get started. I do have a little bit of material to get through. We should be able to get through in the next hour. Just very, very quickly, if you don't recognize my voice, my name is Dave Marsh, and I'm actually one of the original developers of the Matrix system. I've been with the company for 20 years now. We are primarily going to be spending our time in OneHome, but we are going to leverage back into Matrix for a small portion of this as we go through the system. I also wanted to introduce Brent Adams. He's also on the line with me. He's working in the background, answering any of the questions that you might have as we go through OneHome, or even the small portion of Matrix that we're going to be going through as well. If you notice on your GoToWebinar application, there's a questions and answer panel. This is where you're going to enter in any questions that you have, and this is one of the advantages of joining one of these live webinars. Is you do have the opportunity to speak with a product expert live. So if there are any questions that you have, not necessarily just pertaining to what we're discussing, this is a great opportunity for you to reach out and really get any type of question answered. Try to keep it on point with any of the OneHome questions that we're going to be going through. But for the most part, I think most of your questions will be answered during this presentation. But again, if anything does come up, feel free to reach out to Brent. He is beyond a product expert. On side note, Brent is also will be doing a realist webinar coming up. And the date for that is on February 14th. So if you're taking a look at your screen, you'll notice here that I've got it on Brent's webinar. So I really, really encourage you to join. He is the CoreLogic subject expert on realist tax. So he is a great resource to leverage from. So again, I encourage you to just sign into Matrix, and on the dashboard, scroll down to the realist tax for specifically February 14th. And register for his session. But again, we're lucky to have him today to answer any of your OneHome or Matrix questions in the background as we do go through the OneHome application. I also wanted to mention that this is being recorded. And if you notice, again, just jump back to the news and alerts. If you scroll down to the bottom here, you'll see that I've got two sessions that are already recorded. This is a Matrix Beginner and a Matrix Advanced session that we did last week. And if you select either of those, that will take you to the recorded session here in the help section. I also have this available in the Learning Lab. So you can just select this to get to your Learning Lab. And again, it's sort of outside the scope of what we're talking about today, but essentially the Learning Lab is a repository for all of your help or any support material for different CoreLogic programs. For example, Matrix is in there, OneHome is in there, and we're doing a MLS Touch session tomorrow, and you'll see MLS Touch resources in there as well. So those are your options. You can either go to the Learning Lab to view those videos, or you can view them directly from our YouTube channel through these two links here. But the bottom line is, once this session today is finished and it's uploaded, this will be available for you to reference from here as well. All right, so just very, very high level, what we're going to be going through today is primarily the OneHome application for your clients. So if you're not familiar with OneHome, OneHome is essentially a portal, and this is essentially a repository for all of the properties that you send to your clients from Matrix. So whenever you do send properties from Matrix, your clients will receive a notification email. They will, or they may do it if you want to text them. But the bottom line is they will have a link to the properties that you sent them. They will access the email notification. They will select the link, and that will open up their OneHome portal. So we're going to be going through all of that. And in addition to that, we're going to come back into Matrix, and I'm going to show you how your clients' activities can be viewed inside of Matrix, because it is important as an agent that you have insight into what your clients are doing inside of their OneHome application. So we're going to visit that when we get back into Matrix at the end. So what we're going to do is we're going to start out from a perspective of an agent, and I'm actually going to take you through the process of just sending some properties to a client. And let's do that from, I will just send some residential properties. So let's send some active properties, maybe in a price range of, let's say, 900,000 to maybe $1.2 million with 2+ bedrooms. And we'll say maybe 3+ bathrooms. And let's say maybe my client is interested in this area here. We don't want to spend too much time on this. Again, all we're doing here is we're just sending some properties out so that we receive a email notification for the client. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set this up as a auto email, and we're going to set this to my brand new client, Dwayne. Now, Dwayne has never received anything in his portal before. Actually, that's not true. We sent Dwayne some properties during one of my previous sessions, but he hasn't actually gone to his portal and viewed any of those properties yet. So what I wanted to do was I wanted to take you through the very, very beginning steps from the agent's perspective, sending properties out. Again, we did this during one of our sessions last week. And then we're going to essentially transition over into Dwayne's email, and we're going to take it from the client's perspective and select the email link to open up OneHome. So in this case, we're just going to add, let's say, maybe check out these fantastic properties, Dwayne, something like that. And we'll send this as a concierge auto email. Again, we're not going to get into the specifics of auto email. We covered that during one of last week's sessions, and we'll send those out. And now they've been sent. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to take it from the client's perspective, and I'm going to show you everything that your clients will see if they've never received any type of notifications from Matrix before. So we're going to take it from that perspective. Again, this is a brand new client, Dwayne, so he's never actually gone into OneHome. So you're going to see everything that your client sees from their very, very first experience with OneHome. So as Dwayne, I open up my email and I see that my agent, Dave Marsh, has just sent me some properties from the Matrix system. I open this up, and the very first thing that I see is the welcome message. Now, this is a welcome message that my agent set up or can set up inside of Matrix, and essentially just welcoming me to my OneHome experience. Now, there's another type of email that's sent. It's called a recurring email. So obviously, whenever any new or updated properties get sent from my agent back inside of Matrix, I'm not going to receive the welcome message every single time. So after I receive the initial welcome message, I'm going to receive what are called recurring messages. And they're essentially just informing me that new or updated properties have just been sent. But because this is this is the welcome message that I've received. And of course, what I want to do here is I want to view those properties. All right, so this is the first time as Dwayne that I've ever opened up OneHome. I've never actually received any listings before, so this is the first time that I've actually been exposed to it. Now, there's actually a couple of different versions of OneHome. There's something called the default version, which is what we're looking at here, and there's something called an activated version. And I'm going to get into both of those for you, but I just wanted to show you off the bat what the default version includes. By default, if your client receives properties, they're going to be able to view all of those properties. So we'll just take this one as an example. If I want to open that up, I can, again, just get into all of the details of that specific property. And we're going to come back and we're going to dissect this in a little bit more detail. So I'll show you what's included here. I also have the option in the default version of OneHome to view additional information about my agent. So here's my agent, Dave Marsh. And again, if I want to see some additional information about him, there's an area back inside of Matrix where they can add all of their details and a little welcome message for me if they want to add this welcome message. Here's again some more contact information. Dave has also included a video, and this happens to be a walkthrough video, so it's going to be very, very similar to what you see here today. But this is just essentially giving me as a client a little bit more information about my OneHome portal. So if I want to select that, and I can view a walkthrough of the OneHome program. I also have the social media icons from Dave. So again, if I want to visit his Facebook or Twitter X page or Instagram, I have access to those as well. So you can see all of this information was added by my agent, Dave Marsh, back inside of Matrix. And this is actually something that we're going to visit when we do get back inside of the Matrix program. I also have the option of generating my own custom searches. So this is where I can come in if I want to maybe change, I don't know, maybe some of the criteria that I've shared with my agent. So I can't actually change the criteria that he set up for me in a search, but I can create my own custom searching here. So maybe I've shared that I'm looking for properties between $900,000 and $1.2 million with my real estate agent. But I want to try maybe just a slightly different price range. Maybe I want to try a slightly different area. Well, we're going to revisit this in a little bit more detail coming up, but this is an area where I can change or try different criteria. And again, typically that would be different criteria than I've originally shared with my agent. So these are some of the activities that are available for me as a default OneHome portal. Again, as I mentioned earlier, there's also another version of the OneHome portal called an activated version. So why would I want to activate my version of OneHome? Well, there's a few different reasons for that. As a user, I may want to activate my OneHome portal for additional functionality. Now, we have some additional functionality that's not included in the default version. And the reason why it's not included in the default version is some of these features have some sensitive information that I, as a user, may not want to share with friends or family members. For example, if my agent sends me some properties and that I want to share with friends or family members, typically what I would do is I would just forward them the portal. So I could copy my URL here and forward that off to a friend or family member, and they could go through and take a look at some of these properties that I want to bring their attention to. However, as I mentioned, there may be some information in there that I don't necessarily want my friends or my family members to see. And we're going to get into all this, but maybe there's some notes from my agent, or maybe I've favorited some specific properties or saved some custom searches that, again, I just don't necessarily want friends or family members being exposed to. Well, some of these features, again, that aren't available in the default version, we've hidden behind a password protected wall. So as an activated user, what I'm able to do is I'm able to access those protected features. So that's one reason why I, as a user, may want to activate my account, just so that I have access to some of those hidden password protected features. And again, that's just more for my own privacy reasons. So those are two of the reasons, just additional features, and password protects those additional features. The third reason why I may want to activate my account is for accessibility. Right now, as you saw a few moments ago, the only way that I have to access my my OneHome portal is from the email notifications. So what I'm going to have to do essentially is, if my agent sends me some properties, I'm going to have to really just keep that email notification so I can always go back to it and open up my portal from that. I guess what I could do as well is I could bookmark on my browser my portal as well, so I could access it from there as well. But the problem with that is, if, I don't know, maybe I'm walking down the street, I bump into a friend or maybe a family member that I want to share some properties that my agent sent me with. Well, if I'm on my mobile device, I don't have maybe my desktop or my laptop with the bookmarked portal on the browser. So I'm not going to be able to pull it up on my mobile device because it's bookmarked back in the office or back at home. So again, if I check my email, maybe I've deleted that notification email. So it's going to be very difficult for me to access that information that my agent sent me. So the only option is I have to essentially call my agent and get them to resend it to me. So that's not very practical. So as an activated user, what I can do is I can set up so that I have an activated account, and then I can go to our onehome.com page, and this is a central page that allows me to sign in. So again, as an activated user, all I have to do is go to onehome.com, select the sign in button, and that takes me to my sign in credential screen here. So again, those are the three reasons why, as a user, I may want to activate my account, essentially just for additional features, password protecting my account, so those features and that information isn't publicly exposed. And the third reason is for accessibility. So all I have to do from any device is go to onehome.com, and I would just sign in using my credentials from there. But again, it's worth repeating that as a user, I don't have to do any of those. If I just want to use the default account, I can. And as you saw a few moments ago, I have access to all the information that I need about a property just by selecting that property and browsing through and viewing the properties that my agent sent to me. So with all that talk about activating an account, it's very, very simple to do. It takes about 10, 15 seconds. You'll notice up here in the top right-hand corner, there's a little activate account button. So I'm just going to select that. And again, asking me for some very basic information. For example, my first name, which is Dwayne, my last name, and whatever password that I want to use to protect the account. And I'm just going to confirm that password. And that's it. So I'm just going to read and agree to the terms of service, select OK, and activate my account. And as you can see, it took about 10 or 15 seconds to do all that. Now it's password protected. Now it's activated. And now all I need to do is sign in using the same password that I just created a few moments ago. And now we're in. And you can see on the surface, it looks exactly the same as the default version, except now, and again, it's worth repeating, I do have access to those additional features and functionality. It is password protected, so all of the sensitive information that I add to my portal or my agent adds is all protected. And now I have access to onehome.com. All I have to do is access that page to sign into my OneHome account. So what we're going to do now is we're going to take this into a little bit more detail and just explore, well, again, we'll stick with this property here, just explore this in a little bit more detail, and I'll show you everything that's available to your clients. So I should start by saying that all of this information is publicly available information. This is not the information, of course, that you will see back inside of Matrix. Matrix, you see absolutely everything. You'll see the private details and the public details back inside of the Matrix program. But when you send properties to your client, they only have access to the publicly available information. So we're going to start with the photo viewer. Of course, I can select that, and I can just cycle through each individual image one by one. And you'll notice I also have the gallery option here. So if I want to jump to a specific photo, all I have to do is select that and open it up. And then beside that, on the right-hand side, you'll see the price of this property. Well, we also have a price calculator. So this breaks down to see whether or not this property is affordable at different price points for all of these individual areas. Request a tour. So this is actually one of those password protected features that I mentioned to you earlier. So default users won't have access to this, but this is essentially a tool that allows me as a user to request a tour from my agent for this specific property. Now we're going to get into notes in a few moments here, but I like to refer to this as a glorified note because that's really all it is. This is a feature that allows me to send a pre-formatted note to my agent. So in this case, that pre-formatted note is requesting a date and a time for a tour of this property. So let's say that I want to maybe tour this property on maybe February 15th, 2024, between the hours of 12 p.m. and 3 p.m. So I'm going to send this as a tour request to my agent, Dave Marsh, and somewhere, either back inside of Matrix or outside of Matrix, my agent's going to receive a notification of that. And again, I say somewhere, because my agent may want to receive this as a SMS text message. And I'll show you this when we get back into Matrix if you're not familiar with that. But all agents are going to be notified of tour requests and notes, for that matter, back inside of Matrix. That's the default behavior. But if you'd like, you can also choose to receive these notifications in email or by SMS text message. So again, I will show you that if you're not familiar with that back inside of Matrix, where you can set that up. Now below that, we see an option for a note. So this is the ability for me as Dwayne to comment on this property, because maybe there's something that I really, really like about this property, and I'm looking at different properties, so I want to make sure that whatever it is I liked about this is documented. My agent can also have an ongoing dialogue with me about this property. So it's a two-way street, essentially. So we can have an ongoing conversation about this specific property. So in this case, I may just want to say, love this, please pick me up for the tour. Something like that. And you can see this has now been added, and it also has the initial request for that property tour down here as well. So as I mentioned earlier, the requesting a tour is really just a glorified note and is added as part of the note. So my agent will be notified, again, inside of Matrix and possibly outside of Matrix in an SMS text or email, that not only that I sent this tour request, but also that I just sent this note as well. Compare. So this is going to allow me to compare this property with up to 2 additional properties. So you can see there's the vertical here for, well, not only this one, but I also have the option of adding 2 additional properties. So as I go through OneHome and I take a look at different properties, if there are maybe a few that I just want to compare side by side, this compare feature would be the one that I want to use. Neighborhood insights. So this is essentially just neighborhood demographics showing me information about the area that this property is located in. So it breaks it down by age, education, and this always gets me marital status. If for whatever reason I'm interested in knowing what the marital status is of the neighborhood, it's going to show me that demographic as well. But yep, just getting me a little bit more familiar with the neighborhood. And of course, any other listing documents that are publicly visible or available with this property that that my agent may have included, or that the agent may have included with the property when they uploaded it. Below that here, again, just some more information about the property. I just wanted to highlight the map here as well. So this is, again, going to show me where the property is located. And if you're familiar with layers, this is going to allow me to see, well, other points of interest. So if I do want to add some points of interest on here, it's going to, just show me what other points of interest are in and around this specific area that I may be interested in. And moving on down a little bit, again, just getting me a little bit more familiar with this property, showing me additional features, and I can expand any of these panels to view the property information. Here's some additional building details and other facts and features that don't necessarily fit into these 2 panels here. Schools. So this is showing me, well, elementary, middle, and high schools. And you notice here that it's also giving me a score out of 10. So we're ranking these schools. Again, if I'm not as familiar with the area or maybe the schools in the area, this is going to show me some ranking information for these. We don't rank private schools, those being private. We don't have access to that data, but we do have access to the public school data. So we rank them again out of 10. And if there were any upcoming open houses for this property, we would see those listed here as well. How do you feel about this listing? Well, this is really just a gentle little nudge reminding me that I can categorize this listing as a favorite, or if it's not something I'm interested in, I can dislike or discard this property. Now, I don't have to scroll all the way down to access this. This is always available for me up here. And in fact, I love this property, so I'm just going to add this here, and you can see it's also registered down here as well. The only reason actually we're adding this in 2 places is just, again, as I mentioned, a friendly little nudge, because generally speaking, at this point in the process, as I've gone through the property, I probably at this point feel one way or the other about it. So this is a gentle little reminder. If you do want to add this as a favorite or discard this, if it's not something I'm interested in, I can indicate it here as well. But again, the bottom line is it's always available for me up top here. Agent branding. Well, this is very important. So we want to make sure that you are branded as often as possible. We pull this information. You'll recognize that from the avatar here. So you'll have your information that you've added in Matrix to your agent avatar. Well, this is information that we pull to brand. So we will have your branding on all of the properties that your clients look at. And again, just more of a gentle nudge if they do want to reach out to their agent for more information about this property. We like to put your branding here as well. Getting around the neighborhood. So this is going to show me how easy or how difficult it is to navigate the neighborhood, either by walking, biking, or public transportation. And these are some of the highest scores I've actually ever seen. This is a very, very walk-friendly neighborhood, very, very bike-friendly, not so bad middle of the road public transit. But again, if I'm unfamiliar with the area, this is really just going to show me how easy it is to access by either of these modes. And finally, down below, if I do want to maybe view some similar properties, OneHome is going to recommend those. And again, these are based on criteria that the agent set up back inside of Matrix and have been sent to me, the client. All right, so let's jump back out to my main dashboard here. Now, there are a few different ways to view the properties that you as an agent send to your client. So if your client wants to view in the default, this is our map view. Of course, they also have a gallery view if they prefer that. And they also have a single line view, essentially all showing the exact same information, but just how you want that information represented as a client. I mentioned earlier that by default, your clients have the ability to create their own custom searches. Now, this I'm going to take this into a little bit more detail for you here, just to show you that, again, your clients can, if they do want to change maybe some of the criteria that they've shared with you, they just want to maybe try some different maybe price ranges or maybe slightly different area, they can do that from here as well. The only difference between the default version and the activated version is that with the default version, they're able to create their own custom searches, but in the activated version, they're actually able to save those custom searches to use at another time. So this gets back to what I mentioned earlier about privacy. If they do create their own custom searches, and they share maybe their OneHome portal with a friend or a family member, they may not want those custom searches exposed publicly. So again, by activating their account, they are able to save these custom searches that they create. And they may make some very, very complicated custom searches that they don't want to have to recreate every single time. So again, by activating their OneHome account, they can save that so they don't have to recreate that search. So that's what we're going to do now. We're just going to explore the custom searches. So I'm going to select the custom search button, and you'll see here, these are essentially all the available criteria that I have as a client. You'll notice that this isn't nearly as much as you have as an agent back inside of Matrix. So the intention here isn't to expose them to everything that you have available to do searches inside of Matrix. It's really just a fraction. As I mentioned earlier, just something that they may want to just tweak or maybe find a different area or maybe a different price range, just the basics. So in this case, we are going to look for properties that are just for sale. And what are we looking for? We're really just interested in houses. We're not interested in townhouses or condominiums. And the price range, well, my agent, Dave Marsh, thought I was looking for properties between, I think it was 900 and 1.2. Let's just try maybe $1 million and maybe 1.75. Just, out of interest, I just want to see what properties are available in that price range. And we'll say any number of bedrooms, any number of bathrooms. And here's some additional criteria that I have to search by. Now, what I want to bring your attention to here is the keyword search. And this is kind of a cool criteria search because this will search a variety of different fields back that we have back inside a matrix. So as an example, maybe I'm looking for something with maybe hardwood flooring. Well, I don't see a criteria option for hardwood. So here, let's add that as a keyword. I'm crossing my fingers here that there is something. So we're going to apply that. And again, as I mentioned, this is going to search a variety of different fields back inside of Matrix for that keyword. And you can see here, fortunately, there are at least 20. So there are at least 20 properties that have hardwood somewhere listed. So if I, of course, zoom back, I'm going to see some additional ones. But I'm really just interested in this area here. And in fact, maybe, again, my agent understood because I shared with him the area that I was looking for was maybe this area over here. But maybe now I just want to see what's kind of available in this area over here. So you can see I've slightly changed my my area of interest. So now I have 12 results. And again, this is great. I can go in, I can take a look at any of these in more detail if I'd like. And we did this fairly quickly, but I probably don't want to have to recreate this every single time. Because I'm an activated user, what I can do is I can now save this and use it again in the future. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to save it. And I'm just going to call this something simple. We'll call it my custom search. And now it has been saved. And you can see a collection of all of the searches, not only the ones that I've created, but also the ones that my agent has sent me from Matrix in this dropdown. So here's the one that I just created here, and I can create multiple custom searches. This is just one of possibly many that I create in the future. So this is the one. All I have to do is when I open up my OneHome portal, all I have to do is select that, and it immediately takes me to the search that I just created. Now you can see that my agent, Dave Marsh, has also created a couple of, well, it says agent save searches. You know them as auto emails back inside of Matrix. Your clients will see them as your agent save searches, but they're the exact same thing. And you can see here, this is the one that I created last week during one of my presentations. So this has already been here, but this is the one that we just created before we opened up OneHome today. So these are the searches. If I want to go back to those particular properties, all I have to do is select, and it will take me back. And before I do that, I'll show you the listing sets. So these are what are known back inside of Matrix as direct emails. So this is when, let's say, for example, you're maybe just going through some results inside of Matrix for a client. You happen to come across maybe 3 or 4 properties that you just want to fire off immediately to them. Say, maybe, Dwayne, here's 4 properties that I just found I thought you might be interested in. And that would be a direct email in Matrix, but your client would see those listed here. And we can see we already see one here, which may have just a small handful. And then any public record properties that were sent from Matrix would be listed in this little section here. So again, to navigate between them, this is just a collection of, looks like just 3 that my agent sent me. And if I want to go back to the ones that we sent earlier on today, here are those 12. And as I mentioned, same thing with the general search results, boundary layers, and the points of interest layers as well. And typically for those, you just have to zoom in. If you don't see them enabled, here, we'll go over here. If you don't see them enabled, it's typically just because they haven't been zoomed in enough. All right, so now we're going to move on to the My Property section, and this is essentially just an area that will show you different categorizations of those properties. Now, as I mentioned earlier, just when we were exploring that one specific property, your clients are able to categorize property as a favorite or a discarded. This is essentially just an area where you're able to see all of those essentially categorized properties. So this is the one that we did a few moments ago and saved as a favorite, again, just for easy access. Now, I can move this to, let's say, for example, after maybe exploring it a little bit further, I can move it to discarded. And here, I would just have to refresh to go over to the discarded folder, and you can see it jumps back here. We actually like that property, so we're gonna move that back, and we want to keep that in the favorites. So we bring it back to the favorites, and the agent picks. This is the only one that we're going to actually take a look at this in a little bit more detail coming up later. But essentially, agent picks are for you as the agent, where you're able to add a property inside what's called an agent portal. And if there's a property that you happen to discover that you think your clients would really, really like, you can select that as an agent pick. And this is just an area where your clients are able to see a collection of all of those properties that you picked for them. And again, if that doesn't make sense, we're going to visit that in a few moments. But I just wanted to show you that that is available in this area as well. Planner tool. So this is a tool that is available for your clients just to become a little bit more familiar with the buying and the selling process. Generally speaking, if your client is buying a property or maybe selling their property, they may not be as familiar with the overall process of buying or selling a property. Now, they may have little bits and pieces of that information, but this is an area where they can come in and explore essentially the whole life cycle of the buying and selling process. So we're not going to go through the entire thing, but just to give you an idea, if I, as a client, want to get a little bit more familiar with the process, all I have to do is start at the very first tile. And again, once I've read that, I can go on to the next, get familiar with that, read it, and so on and so on. So this is for the buying process. I do have different areas to go through, again, just to get a full view of that scope. If I want to get familiar with the selling process, exact same thing. Just come in, maybe I'm selling my property as well, and I can just move on to the next task. This is how it benefits the client. As an agent, you're able to see this information back inside of Matrix as well, like much of the other information that we've gone through. But I'm going to show you when we do get back inside of Matrix how you can use this information, again, just to get a little bit more knowledgeable about what your client has been doing inside of their OneHome. All right, so now we're going to get into the utility menu. So if you, if as a client, you select your name up here on the top right-hand corner, this exposes the utility menu options. Now, here, I'm going to cover this bit down here in a few moments, and property fit. But if your client does want to essentially manage their OneHome account, they're just going to select the Manage Account option, and that will take them to the management page. So this is the very first page. This is the My Profile page. Honestly, there's not really much for them to do here. We don't really use this information anywhere. Just more just to show where that information is available for them. But I do want to bring your attention to the Agent Preferences section. So this is an area where, as a client, I am able to access my agent information. So again, this information here is going to show me who has access into my OneHome portal. We have something called group members in OneHome, and that allows me as a client to be able to share my OneHome portal with friends or family members that I want to expose maybe some of that sensitive information to. So as I mentioned earlier, I may want to share properties with friends or family members, but there's some that I want maybe to be able to see some of that sensitive information, and there's some that I don't. So by having a group member, it's essentially saying these individuals do have access into seeing everything that I see. Now I'm going to show you when we do get back inside of Matrix how, as an agent, you're able to add group members for your clients. But as a client, this is essentially just showing me who has access into my portal. And remember, I'm Dwayne in this scenario, but this is just showing me that in this case, my wife also has access into my OneHome. And the reason she does is because I've shared her email with my agent, Dave Marsh. So again, back inside of Matrix, Dave has added my wife's email address, and that essentially gives her access. So I'm going to show you that when we get back inside of Matrix. But as a user, this section here is really just showing me who has access into my OneHome portal. And the only thing I'm not able to show you here, but I'll just describe it to be just as easy, is if I, as a user, for example, I'm Dwayne. If I, as a user, also have another real estate agent, maybe let's say in Florida, and maybe I'm looking for property in Florida, and my real estate agent there also uses OneHome. Well, I would be able to toggle between agents. So I would see just a little edit button here, and then I could just toggle between which agent that I want to see. Because right now, everything that I've shown you so far inside of the OneHome portal has been from my agent, Dave Marsh. But again, maybe I have an agent in Florida. Her name is Denise, and I want to see all the properties that she's been sending me. Well, then all I'd have to do is hit the little toggle switch here, and that would allow me to select Denise's name, and then everything I showed you so far inside of OneHome would be from Denise. So I would see all the properties that she sent me. So everything again would be very tailored to my relationship with Denise as opposed to Dave. If I want to go back into specifically Bozeman, and I want to see all of the properties that Dave has sent me again, all I'd have to do is toggle back, and I would see all of those properties. So the bottom line is this is an area where I can essentially toggle between agents to see all of the content that specific agent has sent me inside of OneHome. Because remember, OneHome is my portal. It doesn't belong to my agent. It belongs to me, the client. So by toggling it back and forth, I'm just seeing the content that specific agent has sent me. Property fit preferences. So this is actually my favorite feature in OneHome. This is pretty cool. This is a feature that allows me as a client to really identify what my favorite features are in a property. Now, I've already communicated the criteria with my agent, specifically Dave Marsh. This is the criteria that I'm looking for in a property. I want 2 or more bedrooms. I want 3 or more bathrooms. I want the price range between $900,000 and $1.2 million in this specific area. Maybe some other criteria thrown in there as well. But the bottom line is that is criteria. With property fit preferences, again, what I'm doing is I'm identifying what my favorite features of a property are. And then what we're going to do is we're going to use an algorithm to associate what's called a property fit score to all of the properties that I look at inside of OneHome. So that includes all of the properties that my agent sends me, all of the custom properties that I find on my own. But the bottom line is all of the properties that I look at are going to have a property fit score associated with them. And again, what that's going to do is tell me as the user how much of a match those properties are based on what I find are my favorite features in the property. So I'm going to take you through the process, and I'm going to show you what your clients will do. And then what we're going to do is when we get back inside of Matrix, I'm going to show you how this benefits you as an agent. So the very first thing I need to do is I need to decide if I want a newer home or if I am looking for something older. So in this case, I may be looking for something a little bit older. Do I like outdoor space? Of course I do. That's why I'm in Montana. And do I want a open concept or something maybe a little bit more traditional, let's say? Do I want a garage or a driveway for my car? Am I happy parking on the street? I want a garage or driveway. Do I want a smart home? No, smart home isn't necessarily something that I'm looking for. Do I want environmentally low impact? No, that's not a huge priority. Do I want a larger lot or something smaller? Maybe something a little bit smaller. Now, what am I looking for? Definitely want a fireplace, hardwood flooring, and let's say laundry. So those are my top 3 interior. My top 3 exterior, let's say storage, parking, and maybe a garden. And here, this is just where I'm going to order everything. So let's say fireplace, maybe not as much of a priority. Let's say parking is. So I just order these as far as what my priorities are. And that's it. So as I mentioned earlier, what OneHome is going to do now in the background is it's going to take all that information and using its algorithm, it's going to add what are called property fit scores. Now, these are the little scores that you see here now that are now associated with all the properties that I look at. And again, if I want to run any of my custom searches, I'll see that information there as well. But any properties that I look at now will have a property fit score associated with them. So let's go back to the ones that my agent sent. So you can see here, they're not in any particular order. You can see here, this was at 89%. So this score is very, very, very high as far as the favorite features that I'm looking for in a property. Now, I don't necessarily want to be scrolling through all of my properties, especially if I have maybe 100 properties that my agent sent. So we also have a filtering option here that brings all my highest scores properties to the top. So you can see I have some 89, some 87s, et cetera, et cetera. So these are very, very high as far as what I want to concentrate on. So for the client, this is really the benefit of going through the property fit and associating property fit scores with all of the properties that my agent sent. So that's a high level, well, actually at the same time, also a low level overview of everything that your client can do for themselves back inside of OneHome. Let me jump very, very, very quickly back inside of Matrix, because as an agent, as I mentioned earlier, it's very important that you as an agent are able to see that activity that your clients have done back inside of OneHome, but you're able to see that inside of Matrix. So when you do log into Matrix, you will see a recent OneHome visitors panel or widget here. So this is just going to show you some recent activity inside of your client's portal. So if you do see anything here that maybe jumps out, in this case, this note, if you do remember, we added a note earlier, you can select that from here, and you can even respond to it if you'd like as well. So you can see this is the request for viewing the property. This is also another personal note from my client to me, so I can respond to it and say will do, and again just have that ongoing dialogue back and forth with my client about that specific property. In addition to seeing that on the home page, we have the settings section here as well. And I wanted to show you, because we did talk about it very, very quickly, portal notification settings. Now, if you're not familiar with this area, this is an area where you can be notified outside of Matrix, because you saw just a few moments ago where I actually had to log in to view that information. Here is where you can set to view that information outside of Matrix. So if maybe you're not in the Matrix system regularly throughout the day, you're out in the field, maybe busy, you want to be notified of any type of, let's say, notes that were sent. You can have this sent in a text message, SMS text message, or in a email or a summary email as well. Summary is just going to show you everything as opposed to each and every time. So it's just going to show you all of the activity together as opposed to receiving individual email or SMS text notifications. So you can do all three if you'd like. But the bottom line is, for any of these actions inside of your client's portal, if you want to be notified outside of Matrix, this is where you would come to identify how you want to be notified, either by email, whether by text message, or if you want to just do a daily summary email, which is going to combine all of that activity into one email at the end of the day. Just be aware as well that if you do by text message, SMS text message, if you do select that for any of these activities, you're also going to add your information here as well. So you're just going to have to add your phone number and what your provider is, and we're going to send you a little text message just to confirm that it is your mobile phone number. And then once you've done that, then you can you start receiving text messages from your notifications. Just going to jump back out to the settings here. Again, just because we did discuss it, I wanted to show you underneath the My Information section, more specifically the OneHome tab. This is where you're going to set up your information. And just to remind you, this is the little avatar down here in the bottom right-hand corner. This is where you can see all of this information here. And this is where I added that video as well. So if you do want to add your own little walkthrough video, you can just take that URL here that I have and apply it to your own. But some agents like to put maybe properties that they're representing up there as well, just to bring more eyes onto that property. But this is a nice little tool just to be able to add your own walkthrough video, so your clients can explore OneHome in the same way that you just had done. And finally, I'm just going to jump back to the contacts page. And in the contacts page is where you can get, well, not a lot, but all the information that you need about a specific contact. So as it pertains to OneHome, when you open up a contact, and again, this was for my client, Dwayne, you're going to see on the dashboard, on the main dashboard for your client, you're going to see all of that activity. So as I mentioned earlier, we'll start with the group members. This is where you as an agent would add additional group members for your client. So again, if your client does have maybe a friend or a family member that they want to help manage their portal with them, maybe they're just not really familiar with the area, but their wife is, you can add her email or up to 4 additional emails here. So in this case, I'm just going to select edit, and you can see here as the agent, I just added Dwayne's wife's, and I just separated that with a comma. So as I mentioned, have up to 4 additional emails. So that's 5 emails in total, 1 for my primary contact and 4 additional ones for group members. And again, just separate it with a comma, and all of those recipients will receive notifications along with your primary contact whenever you send notifications out from Matrix. Below that, we have, again, just a collection of recent activity, and some of these are linked as well. So if you want to jump right to that recent activity, you can just select that. I'm going to get to the saved search that my client created in just a second. So just keep that in mind. If you do see that, this is a great opportunity to just to select that to see what that saved search is, but we'll get to that in a sec. Planner tool, as I mentioned earlier, this is a tool that your clients can use just to get a little bit more familiar with the buying and the selling process. This is where you're able to see how far in that process they're familiar with. So if maybe you're coming up on something and you want to bring their attention to it, and you can see here that they haven't actually reviewed that, you may want to just reach out to them and say, hey, if you just want to get a little bit more familiar with this process, you can just select the planner option in your OneHome. And again, this may be a conversation that you have with them personally, but this might be a primer for them to just get a little bit more familiar before you discuss it with them. And finally, property fit. So you saw earlier the property fit tool that allows me as a client to identify what my favorite features in a property are. Now, when I come down to the property fit here, if there's group members, as we see here, there is. If there's group members, you may not see it off the bat. So your primary contact, so all you have to do is select this drop down, and here's my primary contact, Dwayne, and you can see Dwayne has gone through and answered those questions. So this is, again, a great tool for me as an agent because I'm able to see how he responded to all of those questions in the property fit. And if his wife had taken the same property fit, then I would see her responses as well. So as an agent, this is a great tool to see if there's a disconnect between any of these answers. Maybe my client is looking for a smaller lot. Maybe his wife is looking for a larger lot. So clearly a disconnect there. I may want to bring up with my primary contact. Let's say, here, let's do a brand new search here. Let's say I want to do a search for active properties, maybe between let's say maybe $500,000 to $750,000. We'll do 2+ bedrooms and say 3+ bathrooms. Just a quick little search here. Generate some search results. Now, if you're not familiar with this this feature here, this is a very, very cool feature called Refine. And the Refine feature essentially allows me, View As, to view anything that I'm looking at on my screen as a specific client. So what do I mean by that? Well, we've been working with my client, Dwayne, and I just ran this search for Dwayne. Maybe it's not necessarily for Dwayne, but it's just a general search. I happen to come up with these search results, but I see some properties in here that I really, really, really like a lot for my client, Dwayne. I'm not really sure whether or not I've sent these to Dwayne before. I've been sending a lot of properties. I'm not sure if any of these specific ones have been sent in the past. This is a great tool to use for exactly that reason. So I pull up Dwayne from my View As, and this is going to show me if any of these properties have been sent. So you can see here, none of them have. Well, at least on this page anyway. None of them have. Let's go to 250. So do we see? Nope. None of these have. So if they had been sent, instead of never, it would say the date that this particular property had been sent. So that's the View As feature, a great tool just to, again, get a little bit of history on the property that you're looking at on the screen to see whether or not those properties have ever been sent to a specific client, in this case, Dwayne. But what I wanted to bring your attention to specifically was this column right here called Property Fit. Now, we talked about Property Fit essentially giving the client insight into specific properties that they're looking at inside of OneHome, whether those properties are really relevant as far as the features that those properties have. And that's for the client. But back inside of Matrix, as an agent, you're able to see those same property fit scores associated with properties that you haven't even sent yet. So these are properties here. Take a look at these. These are properties here that have not yet been sent to my client, Dwayne. However, I'm seeing that some of these have some very, very, very high property fit scores. And again, we're looking at Dwayne scores here. So if I'm on the fence maybe about sending this particular property here, I can pull up Dwayne's Refine View As feature. And we call this goggles. Internally, we call this goggles. We can pull this up, and I can see that this property here scores an 86. So that means that it's very, very highly rated as far as the features that are important to Dwayne based on his responses back inside of OneHome. So that's why it's very, very encouraging for clients to go through the property fit process back inside of OneHome so that you as an agent have more information back inside of Matrix and are able to make decisions based on whether to send or maybe not send a property based on that. Because again, the opposite of that, maybe this scored maybe a 12 out of 100. So you can still send it, but your expectations may be a little bit lower because you know that it scores very, very low on what they consider valuable features inside of that property. So I wanted to bring that to your attention again, just to highlight that you do have the option available here in the Property Fit View As feature. Now, in the last few minutes here, I do want to cover one additional feature called the Agent Portal. So I did mention this earlier, the Agent Portal, and let me jump back to specifically where. The Agent Portal is more specifically for the agent picks. So this in the agent picks section here, you can see there are no picks yet because my agent Dave Marsh hasn't actually gone through and selected any properties. But the agent portal is essentially a tool that allows you as an agent to be able to jump in and take a look at your client's activity inside of their portal. Now, you can do that essentially individually. You can go to each individual client and take a look at their activity. Here, I'll show you this here just as an example. I could jump into my client Bjorn just as an example. Bjorn has auto email going out, and you'll notice there's a open in OneHome option. This is actually mislabeled. It really should say open in Agent Portal. But if I wanted to, I could select that, and that takes me into view properties inside of Bjorn's portal. Now you'll see it also has this little bar across the top showing me that I'm in agent preview mode. Now I haven't signed in yet as Dave Marsh. I haven't signed in yet, but the bottom line is I'm really just looking at this one instance inside of Bjorn's portal. And that may be fine if you just wanted to view the properties that were sent in this one particular auto email to Bjorn. But again, if you have a lot of clients, you don't necessarily want to be going through every single client like that, like opening up Bjorn, checking out what's inside of that portal, then going into another client and opening up their portal, and then going into another client, opening up their portal. That is not very efficient on time. So what we've done is we've created this agent portal that allows you to jump very, very quickly into any of your clients' portal. Now, I haven't set one up as Dave Marsh, as the Dave Marsh agent. I haven't set one up yet. So I'm going to take you into a different agents, but it's exactly the same, works exactly the same as it would with Dave Marsh. So this is a completely different agent. So you're not going to see the same, essentially the same information that I just showed you back inside of Matrix. But this is what the agent portal will essentially look like. And this has a collection as this agent. This has a collection of all of my contacts. So you can see as this agent, I only have 3 contacts. But one of those contacts I added is Dwayne. So if I want to jump into and take a look at Dwayne's, essentially inside of Dwayne's portal, all I have to do is select my preview account, and I can see all of the properties inside Dwayne's portal. And you notice here, I have the same functionality that Dwayne has. So any of the properties that I've sent, right, would be available up here. We went through all this essentially as Dave Marsh. I showed you all of that. But this is a collection of everything that he can do, Dwayne can do inside of his portal. I have the exact same functionality. Now, one thing I'm not able to do inside of my agent portal is actually manage the portal. So again, I don't have the same functionality that my client does. So my client can go through and they can favorite properties and they can discard properties. They can do all this functionality. I don't have that ability. In fact, here, I'll show you. If I do try to save this property for Dwayne as a favorite, it just reminds me that I don't have that functionality available to me. The only functionality I do have is recommending this as a favorite property, or as a recommended property, I mean. So again, as an agent, if I want to recommend this to my client, let's say, select that, then this is where my client is going to see that. And again, we'll jump back into Dwayne's here. This is where my client is going to see that in this little section here in the agent picks. Now we're not seeing it here because it's a completely different account. But if this was actually the same account as this one here, then we would see that as an agent pick here. So that's where your clients are able to see which properties that you've recommended to them in their agent pick section here as well. Now they'll also see a little badge. Oops. They'll also see a little badge in this section here. So they'll see a little badge here that says agent pick or something along those lines here that'll just say that, give them an indication that this is a property that you as an agent recommended to them. So again, they'll see it in this my pick section here, and they'll also see it, if this was the one that you recommended, they'll also see a little badge here as well. And again, the benefit is, jumping back here, the benefit of the agent portal is really just navigating to different clients very, very quickly. Now, if I want to take a look at Derek's OneHome account, I can jump into there and I can see all of the properties that I sent to Derek here. I can see all of his safe searches as well. And as Derek's agent, you can see here's a bunch of properties that I've recommended to him as well. So again, the bottom line is, with the agent portal, the real benefit of this is being able to log into it and just access all of my clients, because this is essentially just a collection of all of my contacts here, and then jumping in and out of their respective portals. Now, the last question to be answered is, how do I access my agent portal? Well, there's a few different ways. I've already shown you one, which is directly from the contact page. So if you open up your contacts and you go into, let's say, for example, an auto email, and you say open in OneHome, as I mentioned, a little bit misleading. It should actually say open an agent portal. You select that, and it's going to open this particular auto email in this particular client's agent portal section. So that's one way, is directly from the auto email. Another way is from your email. So if you were sent a, let's say, for example, a BCC of an auto email, for example, then what you're going to see is an option, and that option is to open up all of the properties inside of the agent portal. So let me just pull that up really, really quickly and show you what that looks like here. Okay, so you can see here, this is a BCC. This is a BCC copy of an email that I was sent, more specifically earlier today. And down here at the bottom, you can see, I know it's a BCC email because it says view listings in matrix. So this is essentially a welcome message that was sent to my my client, in this case Bjorn. And because it was BCC to me, I see a little bit more information on this. It says view listings in Matrix, because as an agent, I may want to view these properties that were sent to Bjorn back inside of Matrix, so I see the private view. I see all of the sensitive information that my client wouldn't necessarily see. However, I do also have the option of viewing these properties from here. And if I select this view properties button here, that's going to open up these properties in the agent portal. So you can see here, this is essentially just asking me if I want to switch accounts, which I'm not going to. But you can see here, because it has this bar along the top, it's actually opening up inside of the agent portal. So this is the second way that we can access the agent portal, is from a BCC email. And the third way is directly from the URL here. If I just go to agent.onehome.com, that will take me to the login for the agent portal as well. So you have a few different ways of accessing it. What it's going to do, it's going to ask you for your login credentials, which is Clarity. You can also log in from Clarity on that note. So if you access Clarity, you can log in directly from there as well. But the bottom line is, those are the three ways outside of Clarity that you may want to log into your agent portal. So agent.onehome.com, the BCC email, just select the view properties link in your BCC email, will take you to that specific client's OneHome portal inside of agent portal, or directly from a auto email, the open in OneHome option. And that's it. So before I let you go, I know we went a few minutes over here, but before I do let you go, I want to thank Brent for answering any questions in the background. Just to remind everyone, this has been recorded. So I will render this video, and I'll make sure it's uploaded. And then again, once it is uploaded, I will add a direct link to the video from here, and that will take you into the help section. So you'll see this listed here as well. And it will also be available for you in the Learning Lab. So again, thank you very much for joining, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your day. Take care.